Hi, Siri. I'm looking for a new podcast, one that preferably is hosted by a UF Hall of Famer, one that airs every weekday that would bring me everything I need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions. Siri, is there such a show?
Have you heard of PodUp with Mathews in the morning on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or any podcast platform?
Oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? UF Hall of Famer Shane Mathews has a show every weekday. I'm gonna go check it out tomorrow. Thanks, Siri.
Good morning. Live edition, a Wednesday edition, hump day edition of PodUp. Mathews in the morning from the International Diamond Center Studios, the only diamond and jewelry partner of the mighty Florida Gators. We got JC, we have Matt Baker from The Athletic. He covers all of college football now. He used to work at the Tampa Bay Tribune or Times or whatever it's called down there. Got a lot to talk about today. JC, by the way, you're on the Titan MR hotline courtesy of
Love the Titan.
What shirt are you wearing today?
What? I'm sorry. What now?
What does your shirt say?
Oh, this is the Bucket of Blood Saloon, the world famous Bucket of Blood Saloon in Virginia City, Nevada. I've been there twice.
Did you donate any blood there?
No, what happened was the silver miners back then in those days would take their deeds on their mines and gamble them away. And when they lost their mines, their silver mines, they would commit suicide. It was incredible. So what would happen was the owner of the bar would get a bucket and basically clean up the guts after they shot themselves in the face after losing on blackjack. And toss,
don't do that, JC.
Toss it over the edge of the cliff. This bar and this restaurant is on a strip in Virginia City, Nevada, and right behind it is a cliff, and that's where the remains of all of our former silver miners of Nevada in the 19th century probably came to rest. So that's really a gross story, but it's true, and it was tough times back then, QB. Tough times back in the 19th century in the state of Nevada. But it's a great bar to go drinking.
All right, let me get a couple of these texts on the Titan MR text line. This is from Frank. He says, Shane, what was your impression of Terry Dean as a player and a person? Good dude. He was a good player. Went back and forth. He was here at the wrong time with Danny on the team.
Yes, he was.
Terry, now in the Naples area, financial planner, I believe. It's along your lines, JC. Good dude, though.
A lot of those former Gators who you thought were going to be the guy sometimes didn't end up being a guy, and an unknown guy came up through the ranks of Spurrier.
Well, that happens a lot of places, JC, not just with the Gators.
Well, I know, but I'm talking to one right now. I mean, nobody knows this. Nobody knew who you were until you got the chance, and the reason why it worked was because of how you connected with what Coach Spurrier wanted to do, and the guy who was there playing didn't quite catch it. The late Kyle Morris didn't quite get it the way you got it. And so, you know what the coach does in that scenario? He goes with the guy that he thinks is going to get that ball in the end zone. So congratulations, QB. That happened to be you. And it worked out. It worked out. You know,
Daryl on the Titan MR text line says, good morning, guys. I'm going to pick up my grandson today at Gators baseball camp. Shane, did you ever attend any Ole Miss football camps? Daryl, I tell this story all the time. So people that have tuned into this program a long time know that I'm an Ole Miss guy. My dad played Ole Miss. My mom was a cheerleader, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
My ass got dropped off in Oxford, Mississippi for multiple weeks every summer. Because back in those days, you had the old, well, they still do it a little bit, but you had the overnight camps. So I went from the Billy Brewer football camp.
Oh, yeah.
To the Ole Miss basketball camp. To the, I can't believe I can't think of his name right now. He's probably the greatest Ole Miss baseball player. He played football too. But anyway, Don Kessinger, the Don Kessinger Ole Miss baseball camp. So I probably did those starting at age 7 till I was probably 14 every year.
Every year.
I was always the most outstanding camper at the Billy Brewer camp.
Did you get a shirt for that?
Or? Oh, I had shirts. You take pictures. I got 1 million plaques that say most outstanding camper. So anyway, there's my reminiscing of my days at the Tad Smith Coliseum.
Who was your Ole Miss hero? Was it John Forcade or?
I love John Forcade.
John Forcade was tough, man. Great player. But who was your hero, QB? Tell me who your hero was.
Well, that's Archie.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't get to see him play, but Archie was the
Well,
friend.
which one did you like playing? I mean, who was your guy that you would watch when you said, "Man, I can't miss this"?
Well, John Darnell, Mark Young was a quarterback there. All these guys. So anyway, enough of that. JC, I saw this on Twitter.
You don't like talking about those old days, do you?
Nah.
Okay. What'd you see on Twitter, QB? Tell me about
Are you excited?
it. Hey.
All right. JC, have you ever heard of Sacramento State?
Yeah, hell yeah, I have the Hornets.
Okay, so listen to what they're doing.
Okay, I've read this, but I want you to tell
I want the world to listen to what Sacramento State is doing. They have announced the plans for a new $250 million football stadium.
Yes, they have.
They've raised over $60 million in NIL money. They hired highly regarded UNLV offensive coordinator Brennan Marion as their head coach. They just secured a 4-star wide receiver, Xavier McDonald. I think he's actually from Mississippi. They had the 55th ranked class in 2026. They're going to join FBS in 2026. They hired Mike Bibby as their basketball coach, and Shaq is their basketball general manager.
I mean, he's the general manager. You know, they're going to attract players from all over California to go there. God, I love that. I mean, this is a commitment. I don't know who started this foundation of trying to find the money to attract all these players, but it tells me that Sacramento must not be a bad place to live. It is California. It's not cheap, but good for them, man. The Hornets, right? The Hornets, is that right? The Hornets.
Mm-hmm.
So that is. I read that tweet, and I'm just very. They're going to join. What conference did you say it was?
They didn't say a conference, but they'll be FBS. They've applied to be an FBS.
Maybe Mountain West
school in 2026. So yeah, I would think.
Mountain West sounds like about right. We're having right now Big 12 media days. I know next week the big guys get started. The big guys meaning SEC and Big 10, but the Big 12 media days, I think they're talking about Arizona State perhaps being the favorite. With who's coming back at quarterback, that guy can play. What's his name? Sam.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, Sam. I'll think of it. But anyway, they're losing Scatterboo, but I think Arizona State could be a football powerhouse out there in the Big 12. It's great.
Real quick, Shelton is playing this morning, I believe.
Yes. So I'm looking at that right now. He's a plus 260 underdog against Yannick Sinner, who is a 3-1 favorite. Yannick Sinner, for all intents and purposes, had his ass kicked the other day by the great Bulgarian Grigor Dimitrov. And serving on and in the third set, they have to win 3 out of 5 in these Grand Slam events for the men's division. And Grigor was serving on serve. It was on serve, so that means that he was on serve. That it was 2-2 in the third. He had already won the first 2 sets, so he won this. This is over. Sinner's elbow was bothering him because he fell, and Grigor yanked a pec muscle and had to retire and lost. And Sinner moved on. I lost the bet because I had freaking Grigor, and that's a bad way and a hard way to lose. And a lot of books, unlike Hard Rock, will give you your refund back. But, some basically require just 1 set to be played. And in the case, that's Hard Rock. And I lost, leading 2 sets to love, serving to go up 3-2 in the third. Dimitrov had his ass buried. And the thing is that Dimitrov is one of those guys who can't get out of his own way with the injury bug, because in the last 5 Grand Slam events, that's like the last 5 golf majors, this guy had to retire, late in the tournament because of an injury.
What time is the match, and what is it on regular ESPN?
Sorry about that. Yeah, so it is. It's either on 1 or 2, and it starts at 9:47. And I think Ben's he's live to win this, and I'm going to bet a little pizza money on Ben. Maybe if he loses the first or second set, get some odds. It's best out of 5. There's no way he's going to win in 3. So it's going to go either 4 or 5. You can take over sets. You can take Shelton as a dog, and you can bet it live. but Shelton is getting you plus 260. So that's 26 cents for every 10 cents you bet. So I like Ben. I think he's live here, but you've also got Djokovic playing some guy I've never heard of. So the winner, if Ben can win this, he will then face, I believe the way the bracket works out, he will then face perhaps Novak Djokovic.
The Pouncey twins, Mike and Marquise, invite you to try the mango martinis at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, handcrafted with their J.F. Hayden liqueurs. Try those flavors and find your favorite at shopjfhaydens.com. JB says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law, billionaire Cody Campbell's trying to buy a championship at Texas Tech and keep Big 12 relevant. Yeah, they're spending money there. There's no doubt about that.
I told you about that offensive lineman. They're paying millions of dollars.
Yeah.
The Matador Club is unbelievable, bro. That's all that oil money in Midland and Odessa.
Yep. Speaking of that, I don't know if people saw it or not, and we'll talk more with Matt Baker because he covers pretty much all of college football now. But Big 12, I mean, the Big 10 is the Big 10 having their SEC their media days right now?
No, it's the Big 12. That's what.
Okay, all right. So anyway, I don't know if people. Oh yes, Big 12 because Scott Frost and UCF, they are in the Big 12. Did you see what he said, JC?
Yeah, he said that he shouldn't have taken the wrong job. How about just honing up to the fact that you sucked at Nebraska and you couldn't get it done as a coach and taking responsibility yourself, Scotty? Scotty went to Nebraska and failed, flat out failed, but he said it was the wrong job.
Yeah, so somebody asked him, just so people that didn't see this, somebody asked him at the podium, they asked Scott Frost, what did he learn from Nebraska?
Not to take the wrong job.
Don't take the wrong job. I said I wouldn't leave UCF unless it was someplace you could win a national championship. I got tugged in a direction to try to help my alma mater and didn't really want to do it. It wasn't a good move. I'm lucky to get back to a place where I'm a lot happier.
Well, yeah. Listen, they like him down there in Orlando. At 5 years, or $5 million a year, made his mind up for him, I guess, along with the fact that he was a player there. But don't be blaming it being the wrong job. Blame the fact that you just didn't get it done, and you're damn lucky to be back coaching again. If UCF hadn't been so pathetic with Miles Zahn. So, Miles Zahn is your Florida State offensive coordinator, by the way, QB. You know that, right?
I did not know that. I'm glad you just informed me of that, JC. All right, so
well,
JC,
you could add that to your little diatribe about the right job or the wrong job. Yeah. Is it the right job at FSU? Is it the right job? I mean, how good have they been the last?
You're talking about Miles Zahn?
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't have to worry about all the head coach nonsense. He can just go call plays.
All right.
I wanted to give a shout out to our man Tony, that's a great listener of the program. He sent me a old clip from the 1991 Gator Growl that I guess he found on YouTube. It had our man Jim Finch, who used to be the public address announcer.
Yeah.
And good gosh, it brought back memories because I love Jim Finch. He didn't get excited. It'd be like Mathews to Mills, 14 yards, Gators first down. We'd be in a TV timeout. It'd be like, Gator fans, if your car breaks down, call Billy's Towing, 375-4266. That's Billy's Towing. I'd be laughing my ass off in a huddle. But he was great.
It's funny the things that we laugh at. Man, I remember I had the microphone. You had the helmet. Man, those were good days in the 90s. But QB, I don't blame you for reminiscing and going back down memory lane. But I was thinking the other day, what will it take to get this school over the hump? And to me, one of the things, and I don't know if Buddy Martin or Pat Dooley or Steve Russell or any of the old great media members back in my heyday will agree with this or not, but because they cling to the past like it is like it's a treasure or a jacket on the hanger that they'll never get rid of, regardless of how out of style it is. If Florida fans and Florida football is going to move ahead, they've got to kind of let go a little bit. This was the thing that Alabama fans couldn't get over, and this is the thing that everybody laughed at when it came to Alabama once Bear Bryant passed. And I don't know who the next Coach Spurrier is going to be, but there could be another one day. But it's all about the future and the present. And I don't blame you for going back and reminiscing for a little while. But I think Florida fans still cling to the 90s too much. And that includes maybe me or some of the guys in the media from those names that I just mentioned. And I don't know if that's a salient point or not, but man, I hear a lot about it. And I don't mind telling stories, but I think right now, Florida fans got to let go a little bit. Just let go a little bit, just a little bit. And really, I don't know what that means either. Maybe I'm just making a ridiculous point, but I do hear a lot about the past, and I'd rather hear more about the future, if there is one here. And I think there is. I don't know if it's with this coach or whomever, but when I heard you and Buddy talking about, the schedule this year and what the team is going to do and how good or bad it's going to be, I think you're confident in what you think. I think 8 games is definitely winnable, and I want it to be because I want Gainesville to be alive, and I want this school to be talked about again the way it was in the 90s, but I don't want to talk about the 90s. And I just think it's hopefully going to be an era where we can get proud of again. And I think it's possible. It could happen, but it's hard out there. It's very competitive, and the SEC is the toughest conference in football. But you embrace that. You don't let it bother you.
Nope. I'm not worried one bit about the schedule. People can
I know you're not.
about that all they want. But
I mean, before you showed up, Georgia was unbeaten. Florida couldn't beat Georgia, and then you showed up and things changed. So who's going to show up and make things change around here, QB? Who's it going to be?
I don't know. Got to go out and perform at a high level, win some ball games. All right, JC, let's get to our Peachland Dental Gator Nation choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. Go check them out at peachlanddental.com. We have the Scottish Open from the Renaissance Club. I should have worn my Renaissance Club
what are you
main
doing?
Jacket today.
What are you doing, QB?
I may wear it Friday for the program.
You were there. This is a big deal.
I was one of the first people to ever play this golf course.
So tell me why the Scottish Open's become such a premier event now with all these great players, whereas before it wasn't even thought of before.
I don't know the answer to that, but I would assume it has something to do with money.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I think Genesis is probably throwing some money at them.
Is this course a real course? I mean, is it great? Is it good?
It's awesome. It's awesome. Now it has a lot of links to it, but it also has I was surprised at the amount of trees on this golf course. You may not see them on TV, but it's right along, I don't know what body of water. I don't know enough of that stuff, but it's damn cool. It's a great golf course. So, all right, JC, you pick first.
Matthew Fitzpatrick.
Oh, okay. Fitzy.
I think he's playing better. I think he's getting his ball where it needs to be to make birdies a little bit better than what we've seen out.
I'm going to go with the youngster, Ludwig Oberg.
Everybody picks this guy, and then he disappears on the weekend. But he did play well at the Memorial, so I'll give him that. Fitzpatrick, by the way, is 40-1. You should take to heart a lot of these odds after the first round. I was able to do that last week with Brian Campbell, so keep an eye on this if you want to try to make some money. But to me, this tournament's got all the names, all the players that you're going to see at the British Open, most likely. I'm going to go with Tommy Fleetwood. I think now that he's off American soil, he can get it together. He's so close, never wins, but he's good enough to win, I guess is what I'm saying. He's 20-1.
Tony says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, it became a bigger event because the PGA Tour became a partner with the Euro Tour on it. Was previously most a Euro tournament tour event with a few Americans. Makes sense. Give me Vic Hovland.
Yeah. Victor Hovland. 30-1. I'll take Xander Schauffele. I think his health is getting him in the right golf frame of mind, so to speak. Go ahead.
All right. I will take Aaron Rise won this before.
You love that guy.
He's solid.
Mm-hmm.
But give me Sam Burns.
Playing well and really close to a win this year. He may just go over the top. I'm going to take one European and not one of the I'm not going to take a European that we always talk about, but I think this guy is live, and that would be Nikolai Højgaard. He won't win. I don't know why the hell I wasted a pick on him, but you never know. He is 100-1. So That's
Give me
25
Max.
bucks to win
Give me
25.
Max Grierson.
Gracerman.
Gracerman.
Gracerman. All right, Gracerman. And we're banning Scheffler, right? So without Scotty,
We already picked 4. Do you want to pick one more?
One more. Yeah, I got to do 5. I do every week. I play 5 golfers. That's it. Can't play more than that or you're losing money. Let's take, I'll take the defending champ. I like his game right now, and that's Robert McIntyre.
Bobby Mack.
Yep.
All right, so I got one more pick. I will give me Colin Morikawa.
Okay. When is he going to win again?
I don't know.
It's been a while.
All right, so to recap the Peachland Dental picks for the Scottish Open, JC has Matt Fitzpatrick, Tommy Fleetwood, Xander Schauffele,
All right.
Nikolai Hogard, and Robert McIntyre. I have Ludwig Åberg, Victor Hovland, Sam Burns, Max Gracerman, and Colin Morikawa. I have a lot more Americans than you, JC.
You absolutely do.
God bless the USA, JC. You don't like the USA.
I have one. We're in the Scottish Open. I think I'd rather see an American win the British Open. But the Scottish Open, I have one. You're right. But who's going to be surprised if Scheffler doesn't win this? I mean, so since you banned him, and I get it, the number is so short, plus 425. Is it even worth bothering? Now, nobody would not want a good bet getting 4-to-1 odds. I understand that, but there's just so much money laid out on the odds with these other golfers. It's tough to pick a winner on Wednesday, but we've done it before and we'll see if we can do it again. Since we're on the Peachland Dental segment of the show, somebody asked me the other day, going futures. I'm not a big futures guy. I don't really like to have my money held up for 7 months at a time and not get any kind of return on it while I wait. But the return that you're paying for are the odds that you're getting. And so in the NFL, there's an over-under bet that I am very, very interested in that I think is a very solid chance of happening. And that would be your Minnesota Vikings with J.J. McCarthy, a quarterback, and Kevin O'Connell getting over 8.5 wins. So right now, today, and I'm going to do more of these as we get closer to training camp, but I like the Minnesota Vikings over 8.5. This is a team that got to the playoffs last year. The Rams killed them in the playoffs. Sam Darnold faded at the end. But
it does seem kind of low. I mean, hell, they play 17 games.
Low. I think they're going to get easily over that total, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that at 9.5 in the near future. So if you're looking at it, you might want to jump on it now. But again, these are these bets that just you build a portfolio with them, and you just have to wait a long damn time. And I'm not big on that. After we get through all these media days, we're going to, in August, start talking about our college football teams and who we like, over-under numbers there. And, of course, you and I have said Florida at over 8 is our number. I think that's –
Is it 8? I thought it was 6.5.
No, it is 6.5, but you and I are saying they're winning 8 minimum. So that's I mean, maybe we're a little biased here. Maybe we're not, but I think we definitely are. But, look, that wide receiver room, that running back room, to me, if Billy messes this up, then sayonara. But I think it's going to be impossible to not score a lot of points on this team. And you're going to obsess over the defense as we go. I almost see this happening. I can almost predict this is going to happen. QB is going to rail about defense, and we're going to score 30 or more points per game. And Florida is going to win 8 games or more. That's the theory that we're going to lay out as we get closer to the end of August here. So anyway, NFL, give me right now today, if I were doing it, Minnesota over 8.5 is my pick. That division is going to be very, very competitive. If the Lions stay healthy, I think they win, but a lot of folks like them under 11.5. Injuries played a big part in their demise last year. And I think it's the way Campbell coaches. Sometimes it goes well for him, sometimes it doesn't. But you don't need your starters in the freaking game when it's 42-6. And he did that, and they ran out of gas because they were hurt and could not tackle anyone in the playoffs. And there goes Jaden Daniels once again. And speaking of Jaden Daniels with the Washington team, that guy. Is he going to be a sophomore slump guy? And I say no, because I think he's going to be. Well, I hear people saying take all of his numbers under, and they think he's going to have a sophomore slump.
The numbers aren't going to define whether he had a bad year or a good year.
No, it's wins and losses. I see that, But
Just how he plays. I mean,
well, I think he's tremendous, unbelievable. But you're going to have a whole year of tape on him. And let's face it, last year QB they won some games they should not have won. The Hail Mary against the Bears. There was a couple other games that they were bailed out on, and they easily could have missed the playoffs, but they didn't. They made the playoffs and got to the NFC Championship because of Jalen Daniels. So, Jaden Daniels. So I'm a believer in Washington, but I'm also a believer that the Eagles are going to repeat. So,
Clint says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Shane, I parked in the parking lot across from the stadium to take my son to see the field and got a parking ticket for no pass and backing in my spot. I'm not shocked. I get multiple parking tickets when I go over there. I got one on game day. I raised hell about it. Still had to pay it because I was parked in my spot that I'm supposed to park in. But all I can say is best thing is don't go on campus. I stay away.
that's too bad, isn't it? In Starkville, Mississippi, you can park anywhere you want to before game day. Anywhere you want to. It does not matter. It's first come, first served there in Starkville. At least it was when my kid was going to school there. I'm sure it was when yours was as well because they went at the same time. And I think it's the same way. I just don't understand the parking enforcement over there when there's nobody around. It doesn't
Especially in the summertime. Like right now, there's no way they should give somebody a parking.
Doesn't compute. Yeah, it doesn't compute.
Yeah. This Day in Sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life at Campus USA Credit Union. 1977 British Open at Turnberry. Where's this year's at?
It's at Royal County Down.
Port Rush?
Oh, I'm sorry, Royal Port Rush. Yeah, that's right. It's in Northern Ireland. Ireland.
So in 1977, Tom Watson wins his second of 5 Open titles by a stroke over Jack Nicklaus.
Yeah.
It
was the greatest.
They separated themselves, and it was remembered as the duel in the sun, whatever that's worth.
Tom Watson was the greatest British Open champion of all time. He won the most. But as I say that, I'm looking at the Detroit Tigers. 8 out of 10. They've won 5 in a row, and they are leading their division by over 13 games. Be careful, because I'm sure he's going to start resting pitchers by this time next month.
When is the All-Star break?
I don't know. I wish it'd hurry up and get here. This season
should be like coming up this weekend, right?
Yeah, this season is very long. Baseball is so damn long. They're going to play into November. The World Series, I think, will stretch, if it does, into the first week of November. It's too long. The NBA season is too long. The NHL season is too long.
Agree.
Too long. It's just too long. And if they decided to start college basketball in January and we'd have May Madness, I'd be okay with that too. But we're gonna have football and basketball at the same time, like always every year, and it'll be great.
All right, before we get out of here, Gator Art wants to know on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Shane, are your Bills ever going to win a Super Bowl?
They better hurry up and do it.
The problem with the Bills, they're in the AFC. That's the problem.
A problem with the Bills is the guy at Kansas City.
That's what I'm saying. They're in the AFC.
Yeah, I listen. The AFC did not win the Super Bowl last year, though, and Josh is your MVP coming off from last year. I sometimes I feel like he's being wasted in Buffalo, but we'll see. I'll tell you this: I have a very good friend who's a Buffalo Bill fan, lifelong, and he gave me the lay of the land in Buffalo and how Pagula, the owner, really missed the opportunity to put the stadium in the right side of town, because apparently in Buffalo, with the weather patterns there, in the city, and you can confirm this, QV, but he's telling me this, and it's true, in the city, you may get an inch or two of snow on any given Sunday. You go 20 miles south, and that inch turns into 25 inches of snow. So apparently all of the area that they're building the stadium, Orchard Park, gets incredible amounts of snow, while the city of Buffalo, north of that, way north of that, maybe an inch or two.
That's very true. But those damn fans don't give a damn.
I know.
They want the snow.
No, I'm all for it, but 2 feet of snow.
So
you're going to put a stadium there, I guess, because it's cheaper for the guy.
Yeah.
But listen, it's Josh Allen, and when that guy eventually leaves, it's back to Buffalo. And I hope he gets it before he let's just say this. I hope he sees a Super Bowl. He just even
Yeah.
plays in it
Yeah.
before he's done playing football.
All right, JC, we got to get to Matt Baker. Have a
All
good
right, Matt Baker. Okay.
JC, join us on the Titan More
Friday.
Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. Quick timeout. Come back. We'll be joined by Matt Baker from The Athletic. You're watching, listening PodUp with Mathews in the Morning from the International Diamond Center Studios. We'll be right back.
Our premium sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union,
International Diamond Center,
Meldon Law, QC Kinetics, UF Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute, JF Hayden Craft Liqueurs, Florida Cracker Kitchen, Los Linderos Tequila. Gridiron sponsors are Baker Sporting Goods, Cogent Bank, Comfort Temp, Electronics World, Florida Victorious, Gallo Car Wash, Miapa Latin Cafe, Peachland Dental, Quality Plumbing, Ruse Ogre State Farm, Silverback Concrete, 84 Lumber, Big Mills Cheesesteak, Celebrate Primary Care, Dowling Sign, Gator Bait Media, Gator Dominoes, Ironwood Golf Course, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, UF Bookstores, Nest and Wow, MG&A Wealth Management. Watch and listen to us live on Facebook and YouTube. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. To become a sponsor, call my man Freddie at 352-284-3733.
Ho, 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 all the way from the North Pole. It's me, Santa Claus. Oh, I'm here with my friend Steve Spurrier for an amazing Christmas in July offer.
Spurrier's Gridiron gift cards are on sale for 20% off.
Coach, how do they get them?
You can go to spurriers.com and order a digital card or stop by my restaurant in Celebration Point and pick some up today.
Thanks for being my holiday helper in July, Coach. Hurry, this special Christmas in July offer is for this month only. Ho, ho, ho.
Naysayers, setbacks, injuries. Life throws a lot of hurdles your way. The key is just keep jumping them.
Coach, you know what always impressed me? How you beat Florida State to win the 1996 National Championship.
And I was really impressed with your 06, 08, and 09 Gator teams.
And the way you coached Danny to the Heisman Trophy.
A lot like what you did with Tim Tebow.
You know, you won more SEC championships than you lost home games at the Swamp.
And you had plenty of super games in front of our Gator Nation.
Yeah, there really is something special about the Swamp.
I guess that's why we say about the Swamp, only the Gators get out alive.
To the Swamp and the Gators, with the best beverage served at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, 100% agave Los Linderos Tequila, aged in bourbon barrels for a smoother taste.
I think you mean Head Beer Coach 1966 lager, a crisp, light, bodied lager for easy drinking.
Nope. Los Linderos Tequila, smooth enough to drink neat, bold enough to elevate a cocktail.
1966 lager, enjoyed on game days in the fall or whenever you need a winning cold brew.
Los Linderos Tequila.
1966 lager.
Los Linderos.
1966 lager.
Y'all stop bickering.
Okay, you're both wrong anyway. The best thing Spurrier's Gridiron Grill offers are Jerry's famous chocolate chip cookies.
Welcome back to the International Diamond Center Studios. Ruse Ogre State Farm offers a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visitogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. Back to the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. We're joined by Matt Baker from The Athletic. Good morning, Matt. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on, Shane.
Yep. So real quick, let's talk about you're a national guy now for college athletics, college football for The Athletic. How's that going?
You know, it was an adjustment early. You know, I was at the Tampa Bay Times for 13 years, I guess it was, and I enjoyed all of it, covering the state of Florida for, you know, from 2015 through 2024. Was ready for a new challenge, and I mean, The Athletic. Before I joined, I thought they were the best. Being here, being around it all the time, I'm amazed at the great work that my colleagues do. So I'm still drinking from a fire hose a little bit, but things are slowing down a little bit for me. I'm starting to get my feet settled and figure out where I stand in all of this and what I do well and where I need to get better and the types of stories that I can tell for our audience at The Athletic.
So you and I, before we came on the air, we were talking briefly, kind of those early games, like the week one games. You think the Alabama FSU game is somewhat intriguing, right?
I think it's very intriguing just because I don't know what to make of either program, right? Both of them underachieved last year relative to their expectations. I think Kalen DeBoer at Alabama is a very good coach. We saw that at Washington, but year one was not what people expected. So to me, the Florida State game is a really interesting game for Bama to see. Are they good enough to be a Final Four team to compete for an SEC championship? Or are they just kind of in that second tier in the SEC? This will be an early indicator. And then Florida State, obviously, something was a fluke between the 13-0 start in 2023 and 2-10 last year. Those things I've thought so much in this offseason, Shane. I cannot make those two things make sense.
I can help you there. Quarterback.
Yes, sure. I understand. I understand some of the why, but the 13-0 to 2-10 just still doesn't make sense. It should never happen. And honestly, it's never happened quite at this level, really, in the history of the sport. So I want to see which one feels more like what Florida State is. Are they a team that's going to be pretty good in the future? Or are they a team that's really headed in the wrong direction? And again, I saw the line with Bama was favored by a decent amount, but I still think it'll be a good indication of can they compete with Alabama the way they did with some of the best teams they played a couple years ago in 2022, or are they just way outclassed? Where even if they end up 7-5, they are a long way away from where we would expect the Noles to be.
Yeah. You were also bringing up the Gators' week two opponent, I believe, is South Florida. Right there in Tampa. They're going to be hosting Boise State, which kind of is an intriguing game. You're probably going to be at that game, right?
Yeah, I'd like to be. I mean, it's the Thursday night. It's in week one. I think it's like a 5:30 kick, which is pretty cool for a school night. You know, my 8-year-old, my wife might be able to take him if I'm working without him getting home too late. But that's an intriguing matchup at the G5, G6, whatever we want to call it level now. Where obviously Boise State was a playoff team last year. Ashton Genty, one of the two best players in the country. So we see why they were good, and I'm curious to see how does a mid-major program like Boise, like a Memphis or Tulane, how do they respond after losing an elite player? What's their new kind of ceiling, and how good are they going to be in this new era moving forward with so much kind of everything fluid in terms of the roster year to year? And then USF, on the other hand, under Jeff Scott, they were terrible. Right? They were objectively one of the worst teams in the country, certainly relative to expectations. Alex Golesh has had a fine first 2 years where things have gotten better, but there's a whole different ceiling that they are capable of reaching, I think, at some point and need to reach as we kind of, everything is headed toward 2030 in terms of like this big bang in college sports with the next wave of realignment. So if USF is going to have a shot at getting to the big boys table in the coming years, it's got to start now and they got to start sprinting. And that's why USF roster wise, they're getting in a good place. I want to see whether they can handle it against a kind of sort of comparable peer program with the stage all themselves on that Thursday.
Gary's text for you on the Titan MR text line from Savannah. He wants to know your early thoughts on the Gators' upcoming season and your concerns on DJ Lagway's health.
I mean, the first answer to the first one is predicated on the second, right? Yes, I would have concerns with DJ Lagway's health just because he was banged up a good amount last year. I don't need to rehash history and then miss the spring, right? Like that's a concern. It's a concern in terms of just how is he able to handle the hits going forward? How much wear and tear is already on his body? What did he miss developmentally in the spring? I'm mental reps are great, but when you're not physically doing it, it's different, I'm sure, right? If he is healthy, then I think the ceiling on Florida is a playoff team. I really do. I don't think that's a stretch. With this schedule, they'll get some mulligans in there. But if DJ Lagway is the DJ Lagway that he has shown he can be, I think he's good enough to lead Florida to the playoff or be in that conversation at the very end. Let's maybe tamp it down a tiny bit. If he's banged up or if he regresses, a sophomore slump, any of that type of thing, then you could be looking at a rough year, just the way the schedule is. So there's a lot of variance there. As we stand here today, I feel better thinking and saying that Florida is closer to a playoff team than like 6-6. But I wouldn't bet a paycheck on it. I'll tell you that.
Gallo Car Wash, locally owned by UF alum and the only car wash that provides NIL opportunities to Gator athletes. Become a member and see why Gators hate love bugs. We got Matt Baker here from The Athletic. Here's a text from George on the Titan MR text line. He wants to know, Matt, what is your prediction of the Southeastern Conference this year?
I mean, I think Texas, right? I think obviously they were good last year. They've been good the last couple of years, in making the playoff. I don't know what to make of Arch, right? Like I know what the recruiting rankings said. I know what he did last year, but this is a different situation with him being the guy for the full season. I think he will be able to handle the pressure. I'm not worried about that, but I guess I just don't know whether he is an elite quarterback at the college level or if he's good. Right. I don't know where in that he stands. We just don't have a big enough sample size, Shane, right? We just don't. But I do think Texas has been good enough and built enough where I feel similarly to them as I did to Georgia in like that 2017 to 20 range, where like you keep recruiting at a high enough level, you've got a good coach, eventually things are going to click and it's going to really, really work. So like I think if I had to pick today, I'd pick Texas to win the national championship. And then I think Georgia's probably a step below them in terms of the SEC. And then after that, like something is holding me back a little bit on South Carolina. I think Tennessee is going to take a step back. LSU, I think, should be pretty good. I really do. I think LSU, this is it's a put up or shut up year for them. I like Garrett Nussmeier a lot. They did really well in the portal, maybe the best portal class in the country, certainly one of them. I think things could click for LSU, and like if they're not a playoff team this year, I think something has gone very wrong. And then it's time to start talking really seriously about, is Brian Kelly the guy or is he not?
You get any sleepers out there? Not so much in the SEC, but somebody that we may not be thinking of that could possibly hop into the playoffs?
I mean, I think I'm a little bit higher. This isn't a sleeper, I guess, but I think I'm higher on Clemson than other people. Like I think they're absolutely good enough to win a national championship. And it's been a minute since we said that. Klubnik came on at the end of the year. I think their defensive front should be really, really good. Dabo's modernizing a little bit, finally embracing the portal. And I think there have been enough changes. Tom Allen, a defensive coordinator. I think Clemson's good enough to win that national title and get in there. I do like Illinois. I didn't buy the talk that maybe they could have snuck into the playoff last year. I wasn't feeling that at all. I just rejected that argument. But this year, given what they return, Brett Bielema is shown to be a good coach. I think they've got a pretty high floor, I guess. And they're one of those that it wouldn't shock me if they're in the playoff now.
Amy's question on Facebook Live brought to you by Mental Law. Matt, do you think Garrett Nussmeier is a top 10 draft pick next year? He has QB experts polarized.
I think so. I mean, the cop-out answer is let's see what he does this year. But yeah, I think tools-wise, like I just remember watching the USC game and the opener for them last year, and I was like, I really like this guy. I think he's very talented. I think he can make all the throws. But let's see if he can carry this team to that level that they lacked last year. They do, there are some pieces missing at the playmaker at the skill position. So I want to see what he's able to do with some different guys there. But yeah, I absolutely think would be in that conversation as we sit here today. But there's a lot of football left to be played, right?
No doubt. You think Ohio State takes a step back?
I think they have to. Ohio State's recession proof, right? They are the only program in the country that is recession proof. Maybe you want to say Oklahoma, but I don't know that I agree with that, especially after last year. Ohio State, I do think they take a step back. Will Howard wasn't a great quarterback, but he was certainly good enough. And it's just the way it works, right? They put all their eggs, so to speak, in that year's basket in terms of what they added through the portal and all that stuff. And it worked. They won the national championship. Fantastic. Now, the way I think it's going to go in college sports and college football in particular, I think we're going to see more teams like in the pros where, okay, our window is this 2 year window, right? Because of the way the cap works, the rookie contracts, whatever it is. This is our time. We got to go all in on it. And then what happens in the pros, what happens certainly like with the Bucks, right? After Tom Brady won the Super Bowl, then they went through a salary cap issue and they weren't as good. I think we're going to see some of that in college football. So that I say that to say I think Ohio State will still be good. It would not shock me if they're in the playoff. They should certainly be in the discussion. But are they going to be as good, national championship good? No, I don't think so. I think they go from being a top, obviously number one, top three program to being more like, 7 to 10, 7 to 12, something like that.
David on the Titan and More text line wants me to ask you this question that we kind of brought up and talked for a few days, a couple of weeks ago. Somebody asked this question on the program. Which coach in the SEC has more pressure on them this year? Billy Napier, Brian Kelly, Hugh Freeze, or Kalen DeBoer?
He was different because he's a little bit behind in terms of when he got hired. Kalen, I don't think so. I mean, I know what the pressure cooker Alabama is, but I think in terms of like, if we're talking job security and everything, year two, I think the reasonable people, and there are reasonable people around Alabama, will understand that. So to me, it's between the other two. And I would lean toward Brian Kelly, I guess, just because the ceiling has been higher at LSU lately compared to Florida, where the last three coaches at LSU have won national championships, right? It's been a minute since Florida has won a national championship or won the SEC, right? The last few coaches have obviously had some highs, they've had some lows. Maybe Billy will get to that high or be somewhere in the middle. I don't know. But yeah, to me, I think the stakes are higher at LSU just because of um, the expectations are high, the reasonable expectations are higher based on what we've seen recently. And then also, like Brian Kelly was a bigger name when he got hired, right? He's the all-time winningest coach at Notre Dame. Like that's a remarkable achievement. So I think the expectations going in for him were a little bit higher, and that's why I say if he doesn't make the playoff this year, I think it will be he'll be in a tough situation. I guess let's put it that way, mildly.
Yeah, I think LSU it's do or die this year. You know what, they've lost like their five years straight, their opener in 5 straight years, something like that. And they go to Death Valley and Clemson. It's going to be very, very difficult for them for sure. This text on the Titan More text line from Larry wants to know, who is the one player besides DJ that you think needs to have a great year for the Gators to have success?
I mean, DJ is the obvious one though, right? I don't know if there's one guy on the defensive line in particular, but I think somebody on the defensive line needs to generate a lot of pressure and to really break through there. Just because that position, it's a pivotal position. You look at, certainly some of the quarterbacks that the Gators are going to be facing. And maybe it's Caleb Banks, I don't know. But I would say somebody on the defensive line needs to step up and go from being a good player to a really good one for them to elevate that side of the ball and really become a well-rounded team. Because I do think if DJ is healthy, I think the offense will put up points. Is the defense capable enough to keep them in games on the other side?
All right, we got a million texts here. I'm just picking and choosing here. This one's from Joshua. He wants to know, is Lincoln Riley in trouble out at SC?
I don't think so because USC is weird because they're a private school, so we don't have their contract, and that's not something that we have access to. However, everyone's understanding of the way his contract is. There's so much money left on it that it would be very hard to see him getting fired unless the NFL is calling and he wants to pursue that or something like that. I mean, and shoot, the LA Times reported last night, I think it was, handful of USC athletic department employees were just let go or positions unfilled, that type of thing, as everybody's paying $20 million to the players. So I think in that situation, it's hard to imagine it. But people are crazy, right? So I would feel pretty good about him coming back next year as long as he wants to be there.
Brent on the Titan of our text line wants to know your thoughts on the Miami Hurricanes since the Gators play them this year.
My thoughts on Miami are the same as they always are, which is I have no idea. Like, even when I was at the Tampa Bay Times covering Miami a decent amount, I never had a good read on them. Just because it's just such a weird program. And I don't mean weird as a negative here. They're just so hard to predict. It feels like when I thought they'd be good, they underachieved. When I thought they'd be mediocre, they overachieved. I think offensively they will take a step back. You don't, one of my truisms, even in the era we're in now, you don't lose a top 5 or number 1 quarterback like Cam Ward and get better. Like that doesn't happen very often. The example I always use is Clemson, right? Where they won a national title with Deshaun Watson, won a national title with Trevor Lawrence. In the middle, they had Kelly Bryant and weren't as good. You don't go from Deshaun to Trevor very often. So I think they will take a step back on offense. The defense should be better. I don't know if it's good enough to overcome the changes on offense. I don't know if Carson Beck's good enough and healthy and all of that stuff. But they should at least be good. Like they're at the point now where if Mario doesn't have a good team, a top 25 team, a top 20 team, especially in the ACC, right? Then we got some issues there.
All right, 2 last things before we get you out of here. Speaking of the ACC, how do you think Belichick's going to do this year? And the other one was, I want to get your thoughts of the comments that Scott Frost had at the Big 12 meetings, kind of bashing his alma mater.
All right, so Belichick, I have major issues. I just do, based on the way that major questions, I should say, just based on the way that things ended with the Patriots. He's coming in. The track record of going from the NFL to colleges, I don't think is that great. I don't know how well he's going to relate. It's such a different game. I don't know that he's going to be able to adjust well enough. I just don't. That said, North Carolina's schedule is pretty garbage. So they could still end up not having a great team, but going 8-4 or something, and UNC feeling good about it heading into next year, and no one having any idea what Belichick's future is going to be in terms of that. Scott Frost, that one is interesting. He has not wanted to talk about Nebraska to anyone, and I understand why. I don't understand why he wouldn't have a canned answer to, you know what, we did a lot of things right in Nebraska. We also did a lot of things wrong. I learned X, Y, and Z and come up with a really easy diplomatic answer that doesn't ruffle any feathers. And he has chosen repeatedly not to go down that road. No, Nebraska is not the elite job that it was. It's just not. They got some issues. But I know some people think Nebraska is headed in the right direction now with Matt Rule. Like the issues aren't so systemic and the problems aren't baked into the walls so much that Nebraska can never be good. It's just that Scott Frost didn't work out for whatever reason. And I was a little surprised there wasn't more, at least public introspection saying, yeah, here's why I screwed up. Here are 3 things that I wish I had done differently and that I am doing differently going forward.
Yeah, it's crazy. Matt, let everybody know how they can follow you on Twitter or X and if y'all have any specials or whatever going on at the Athletic.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter and Blue Sky at Matt Baker CFB, and yeah, I love the Athletic. I think again humbly I said this before I joined, but I think we've got the best college football staff there is, and if you love the sport as much as I do and as much as Shane does, I hope you give us a follow and check us out.
Good stuff. Appreciate your time, Matt. We'll talk to you soon, bud.
All right, thanks.
That's Matt Baker from the Athletic. Join us on the Titan More Hotline courtesy of Comfort Temp. Florida Victorious, proud NIL partner of the Florida Gators. Join today to help make Florida victorious. Before we get out of here, Jonathan says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. I went to Miapa Cafe and man, that is some great Cuban food. Wouldn't have known about them if not for your podcast. Yeah, it's very good. Appreciate the shout out there, Jonathan, for Miapa. And appreciate everybody chiming in today. Again, thanks to Matt and JC for joining us on the program. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.